which of us are better than the rest? Kill or be killed? And why feel guilty? Well then, may the best race win. I hope you're not offended by this story, but I want to tell you an experience that I had when I was in junior high school. One day in our art class, a group of white kids painted a black kid white. I know, it's terrible, and I'm sorry. Our teacher went ballistic, of course, screaming about how demeaning it was. But it was interesting because the black kid, who was kind of the class clown, had encouraged the prank. He said something like, "No biggie, teach," whatever her name was. "We're just speeding up the evolutionary process." She didn't think it was funny, and it wasn't. But the painted kid was just voicing the horrific implications of the evolutionary theory we were being taught in the class before hers. Actually, not too many people stopped to think through the implications of the evolutionary theory. I mean, have you taken a look recently at Charles Darwin's famous book that started it all? You know the one, The Origin of Species. But are you aware of the full original title that Darwin gave his book? Maybe in our politically correct culture, the complete title would be too offensive to put right on the cover. But like it or not, here's the whole title. Are you ready for this? On the Origin of Species by Means of Natural Selection, or the Preservation of Favored Races in the Struggle for Life. Now, how'd that hit you? Pretty good? Favored races? Yeah, favored races. Darwin made certain that the essence of his theory was front and center. Let's break down the title. First, we see that the book is about origins. Darwin is attempting to inform us where we came from. And according to him, our existence is a purely accidental, naturalistic phenomenon. Then Darwin moves on to define the process by which he believed we came into existence. Did you catch it? By means of natural selection. That simply means that the strong survive and the weak don't. Also described by Darwin as the survival of the fittest. Every creature in this theory is in competition for survival with all others. It's natural, Darwin says, that those with stronger traits will conquer those with weaker traits. The survivors will then breed, thus preserving and strengthening the traits that are most suited to survival. And things get gradually better, supposedly, as the weak are slaughtered and the strong survive to propagate. So evolution is dependent on the elimination of the weak. In fact, if you think about it, to the degree that any of the weak survive, the evolutionary process will be hindered. And in this sense, competition and conquest are good for the advancement of life. The highest law is self-preservation, and the brutal cycle of killing is merely an amoral necessity. Which brings us back to my art class and the final part of Darwin's title. It's a mouthful for a book title, but get these words, don't miss it. The preservation of favored races in the struggle for life. The idea is so heavy that even those who believe the theory see the racist implications. And yet, no explanation can alter what Darwin means when he speaks of favored races. The theory of evolution unavoidably teaches that some races are favored above others. So it should come as no surprise to us then that Darwin's cousin and disciple, Sir Francis Galton, was the father of modern eugenics, which is a Greek word that simply means well-born. Taking Darwin's theory of evolution to its logical conclusion, Galton taught that the gifted, or more highly evolved humans, should treat the less favored among us with kindness. Get this, so long as they maintain celibacy. He went on to say, if these continue to procreate children inferior in moral, intellectual, and physical qualities, it is easy to believe that the time may come when such persons would be considered as enemies of the state. Wow! People considered enemies of the state? Galton's ideas actually turned out to be a dark prophecy that came true when Nazi eugenics scientists bought into Darwin's favored races theory and supervised Hitler's final solution. Millions who were regarded as less evolved than the Aryans were slaughtered with survival of the fittest gusto, and the evolution-educated conscience seems to have felt no guilt. I mean, kill or be killed. And why feel guilty? Because after all, if self-preservation is the highest law, and if the triumph of the strong over the weak is simply necessary for the advancement of mankind, well then, may the best race win. Which no doubt begs the chilling question. If Darwin was right, then which ones are the favored races? Which of us are more highly evolved? I mean, which of us are better than the rest of us? The Nazis thought they were answering the question with their Aryan supremacy ideology in their gas chambers. The preservation of favored races. Can you see it on the Barnes & Noble bestseller shelf? Those words are there after all in the original title. Like it or not, that is the point of Darwin's theory in all its glory. But somehow, I don't think the favored races title would sell the book. The kids in my 7th grade art class, they understood the implications of Darwin's theory. The question is, do we?